Hello, everyone. Welcome. I am Marius Franklin, your board member and facilitator of the call today. Thank you for joining us for this workshop, Community Coalition Building. I want to mention a few housekeeping items before we get started today. First, when you scroll over the screen, a menu bar pops up. Depending on what device you are on, you can find the menu bar at the top or bottom of the screen. This is where you will find the closed captioning for today's session. You can also view the captioning by selecting the CC tab on the menu bar. Stream text is also available for today's call. You can find that in the conference website connection. Instructions for this section. For sign language interpreting, you can find the interpreter on the screen. To join into the chat, please find the word bubble in the same menu bar. Once that is selected, that will allow you to follow along with the chat or add in your comments. For Q&A times, please note that the Q&A boxes on the menu bar are there. Please only submit questions there as they may get lost in the chat. To ask a question or make a comment, you can also select the hand on the menu, and that allows us to know you have a question. For those of you on the phone today or using keystrokes, we ask that you press *9 on your keypad to raise your hand. We will then let you know when to unmute you. Remember, if you join into the conversation, please keep all background noise down as much as possible to allow us to hear you clearly. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ken Mitchell. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, at the Center for Independent Living Disability Link. Along with me is Kendall, and I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Kendall Greenell, and I'm representing Us Protecting Us today. And I'm so happy to be on with everyone this afternoon. And I'm looking forward to getting started.
I'm sorry, this is Ken. I'm getting a little feedback off of the thing. Hold on one second. Here. Okay. All right. Thank you. As I said, my name is Ken Mitchell. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, along with Kendall. And we're going to talk a little bit about a program that was started here at Disability Link. And let's get a little bit up. Just so the
This is Brittany. Kendall, it looks like Ken lost his connection. Would you mind picking up until he comes back? That would be very helpful. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. We're experiencing some technical difficulties at the moment. We'll try to get Ken and Kendall back, and then we will, I think Ken's back on, so I'll go.
I think I'm back on now. Am I back on? Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry, I don't know what happened there, but I went away for a second. We'll start again. Again, I don't know if there's a way of turning off the chat for me, because when that comes, I'm hearing the chat instead of the mic.
This is Brittany. If
Okay,
everyone
we'll continue on and try to continue on. All right. So I'm going to tell you about a program that we had. It's called Us Protecting Us. It is a nonprofit organization. It started from one of our Center for Independent Living programs called called Nothing About Us Without Us. In that particular program, it's once a month, the first Thursday of every month. If everyone's interested, it is online. And in that, we bring up different issues or information that's concerning our neighborhood or our community. And that we have people from all different counties that we represent, which is 12 counties around Metro Atlanta. And the program goes something like this. We get an issue or a program, we bring some information about it. We try to educate a little bit about it by either bringing in guest speakers or people that it affects. And then the last part about it is we try to do some kind of action. About almost 5 years ago, in our community, we were talking a lot about people with disabilities and first responders, how they were being treated, how we were being treated rather, and how there's a lot of police shootings and abuses around Metro Atlanta, and then of course around the country. Not that that was anything new, it was just something that was being brought to the forefront. Again, that was about 4 years ago. From that, under the action part, many of the consumers decided that, what are we going to do? And from that, decided that we should have a meeting with a number of our area partners to let them know how we felt and what our concerns were. So that happened. We had a meeting with a bunch of partners, and from there, they decided that we need to reach out to not only our community, but the community that surround us, i.e. Black Lives Matters, the National Association of Colored People, the Wellness Center, 911 operators, some of the other peer-led organizations around us, such as members of the National Federation of the Blind, American Wheelchair Users. Anyway, we sent out invitations. I don't know how many we actually sent out, but about 25 different people, organizations showed up for that particular meeting. And in there, we had a lively discussion, a lot of discussion about what should be done and what shouldn't be done. In that conversation, the shooting of Anthony Hill was brought up. Anthony Hill, if you don't know, was a Navy veteran who was shot by a police officer here in Georgia, actually about 10 miles from our center. He was naked. He was in his own community, and less than 2 minutes after an officer showed up, he was shot and killed. From there, we decided that this is one of the many areas that we were going to look into. Now, Anthony Hill is probably one of the more famous ones, but there were a number of others in the area. I think at that time, someone knew of a family friend of his. I think this is where Kendall came in. And if she wants to go on a little bit about that, you can, Kendall, if she's still there.
I'm here and my power is back on. I'm so sorry. It surged and I got kicked off. I got kicked off.
So did I.
I'm friends with the late Anthony Hill, his girlfriend at the time when it happened. And she had asked me if I wanted to go to a meeting with her. She wasn't really sure what it was about, but we were feeling very, of course, unsettled and upset. And we wanted to do something to help gain some support for his case. So I went with her to Disability Link and I met Ken there. And from there, we didn't know what to do or how we could help, but we wanted to do something and we just kept meeting every first Saturday of the month. We would get together, we would discuss cases, we would pull information. We also learned a bit how police are trained for situations involving people with disability or mental health crisis. And we weren't liking what we were seeing, and we knew we had to keep going to make a change. We weren't sure what to do or where to go, but we kept going. And with that drive, we formed our coalition, our group, Us Protecting Us. And the trial for Anthony Hill was actually a year ago, exactly a year ago today. And his trial took place 4.5 years after his murder. So that was also something that was very upsetting to the community because we kept having this carrot of justice dangled in front of our faces, and we would think finally the day in court would come, the judge would recuse themselves and the process would have to start all over again. So what Us Protecting Us, what we did is we set up press conferences in front of the courthouse. We worked with other local organizations, the Alliance for Black Lives, It's Bigger Than You. We all collaborated and worked together to get attention. We also worked, Anthony was a veteran, so we also reached out to different veteran groups, and the community really came and supported the family and what was going on. And I wholeheartedly believe without that support, we would still be waiting for a trial today.
So thank you, Kendall. So Kendall was just one of the many people that we had actually reached out to. Sorry about that. I couldn't tell that the video was off. So as I was saying, that was kind of the start of our group. It wasn't really kind of where we were going to go, how we were going to participate. I know that originally we had talked about having some kind of class, some kind of instruction for the first responders and the police. And as Kendall may have said, the officer that shot Mr. Hill had taken the course. And we were kind of amazed by that. So now we decided that we were going to find out what was actually in the course. What were they teaching the police officers so that the person who had graduated would come to a man who was unclothed, showed no aggressiveness, and shoot him and kill him. We looked into how the program was developed and how the classes were taught, and we, as Kendall may have said, we were kind of shocked. The course was 40 hours long, 2 weeks. I mean, a week rather. and they developed about, I'm going to say how they did it was they gave about 10 minutes to each, as they call, labeled disability to tell what it was. And we decided that that was not sufficient enough. We went to different police organizations to try to figure out how could we support the police in training their officers differently. And we found that even though we got a lot of good talks, that the authorities were not really in the mood to change their training. Of course, this is probably now we've probably been doing this for maybe about 1.5 years, maybe almost 2. Then we decided that we needed to change our direction. And I don't know quite who came up with it, but I'm going to give the credit to Kendall, that maybe we should, instead of worried about de-escalating ourselves, the police, maybe we should work on us, which hence the name, us protecting us. So one of the things that we continued going on was there's a lot of discussion of how this training should be done, if that's the way to go, should we involve police, what liabilities we might have. There was discussion on, we talk about individual disabilities, what we should look for. For instance, if you don't know the story of Anthony Hill, he had post-traumatic stress disorder. He hadn't been able to take the medication that he was used to, and he had come outside naked. He hadn't harmed anybody. Matter of fact, he was out for a while. And the story goes that when the first time he was out, the neighbors got him and brought him back to his apartment. Again, hence us protecting us. The second time he came out, someone had called the police. I would say believing that that would be helpful. And of course, after less than 2 minutes, he was killed. So when we went through the discussions of what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, we went through a lot of phases and blends and discussions of what would be an avenue or approach, or the many avenues of approach. Meanwhile, a group was consistently on the case of Anthony Hill and the court case. So there was a group kind of going along with that, a group reaching out to different authorities, a group working with the actual training. Again, this did not happen overnight. Again, this did not happen without a little bruising of discussions or philosophies. But we were lucky because a group of people stuck with it. And now it's been 4 years, a little over 4 years, that the group is going and is still going continually strong. Kendall reminded me that just about a year ago now was the actual trial for Anthony Hill. We can talk about that too later on if you like. To continue on, so what's happened, as Kendall said, is that we've come up with a program, a webinar for our community. And if you know anything about Atlanta, we're actually on the outskirts of Atlanta, and that we are next to Clarkston, which is stated as the most diverse city in America. So we're kind of lucky on that part that we were able to have that diversity. But what's happened now is that we have a program where we are giving out webinars, and there's a couple things that we might ask you at the end for a discussion part. Kendall, something else you'd like to say that I missed?
No, you got it. You covered everything. I think the most important part was that we never gave up. We never said, no, nothing's changing, nothing's happening, forget it. We just kept pushing through. And I think that drive with all of us made us stronger and made our group stronger and allowed us to collaborate on our crisis intervention workshop, which took a really long time to write. It took about a year to get it to the point where we felt comfortable sharing and presenting it. And we really hope that it's useful to people, because we can't control the actions of the police, but we can control our actions. And with the proper training and confidence, we can hopefully help someone else not end up like Anthony and so many others. And I'll give it back to Ken or whoever's next.
This is Ken. I didn't catch that. We have a question or statement so far?
We have no questions.
There's no questions?
Yes, no questions.
Okay. So I'm going to continue on until there's a question or statement or something that needs to be read. So in our efforts of coming up with this particular program, one thing I'd like to mention that the group of Us Protecting Us, I don't know if it's 100% people with disabilities, but it's pretty close now. Again, that's Us Protecting Us, but it would be families and friends of people with disabilities. And like Kendall had said, it didn't happen overnight. It was something that, like I said, right now we're going almost 4 years. So it's something that's it was a process. The thing I do like it, and it's important to Center for Independent Living, it's that it's a program that started out at the Center for Independent Living. It broadened out to the community. It, as Brittany says, she didn't quite know what she was getting herself into, and I'm sure she didn't realize it was going to be 4 years plus later that she would still be working with the program. But it grabbed people like Kendall to support our community, where may perhaps in another vein we might not have opened up to her. So it was a program that is actually being guided by not me and not the center, but by people in our community. We host it. And being Ken Mitchell, I'm afraid I do give my opinions every now and then, but we're not taking it over. It is run by the community. It is community led. We are just supporting it as a Center for Independent Living. It's something that you guys can do as well if that's something you're interested in. And if you are, you can get a hold of us either through April or at Disability Link or at Us Protecting Us. And I'm afraid I keep cutting Kendall off apparently, and I know she wants to talk about different things. But any questions so far about the program how it's run, the multi-billion dollars in financing that we get.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
We actually have a few questions, and what I'll do is I'll do 2 now, and then we can save the rest for later, if you like.
Okay. Sure.
Okay, so
Hey,
the first one comes from an anonymous attendee. It says, if we defund the police, how can we distribute the wealth to resources for people with disabilities?
Okay, this is Ken. And Kendall, you want to go ahead? Go ahead.
Okay. I think the first way we can do that is always the first most obvious answer. We need to vote. We need, especially because these things start on a lower level within our communities. So it's very important to vote for candidates that support things that are important to our community and our issues. I think that's the first part. The second part would be, once you have those people in office, or find out who's in charge of the budget, who makes those decisions, and who has the power to give funds to different organizations or departments. And I know that's something we probably want to work on in the future. We're very much focused on our workshop right now, but I know that's something that we desperately need here in Atlanta, because the call made to help Anthony Hill, the intention was for a crisis unit, not just for the police. And unfortunately, that day, there was no one available, and it was just the police officer who showed up. So I think if there was more funding available, it could have been avoided, because what happened, it happened at 2:30 in the afternoon. It's not like it happened at 3 a.m. or the middle of the night. This happened in the middle of the day. So it's kind of sad that the intent was for, to help mitigate a crisis, and it ended up a tragedy. So I think it's really learning who on your town, city, state level, who are the people in charge that will listen. And they might not listen to you at first. They might not take a meeting, just keep bugging them. It took a long time for us to meet with different police departments, but we never gave up, and when an invitation was declined, we just kept bothering them. So I think it's just really important to know who's who in your city or community, and start from there. Just start introducing yourself, your organization, show up to town halls, to meetings, because they're not going to fund programs if no one's interested, or if they think no one's interested, because the money's there.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, it's a little muted, but it's okay.
I'm gonna give this next question, and then we'll try to figure it out on my end. So, the next question comes from Kim Connor. It says, did you get support from other organizations, disability or otherwise, for your coalition? Are there any relationships that developed within the police community? Wondering if any unexpected relationships came of it that you were not counting on.
And the only one I didn't, this is Ken, the only thing I didn't, was there any relationships developed between what community was it?
That you weren't counting on developing.
Yeah, what was the one before that? Was the police community, was it?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for that question. So yes, we started out with a collaboration with a number of different groups. In the beginning, I was listing a couple of them, but some of the groups came on, some came off, some were added. We did actually have a person from a county that Anthony Hill was shot from the 911 director, which is a police person, by the way, that came and was somewhat sympathetic to our cause and interested in the training and them doing their own training. So I think that was the most group that leaned forward the most. Other groups, police groups, were the phrase that was told to me was, yes, we understand that you want people with disabilities to go home, but I'm thinking, this was a police chief, I want my officers to come home safe. That's his priority. And that kind of struck me because I always thought the police model was to protect and serve. But, you know, it's interesting. So we did talk to different police organizations. Now, a year later after the trial, there are police organizations at least suggesting that there's some kind of redistribution between the community and wellness programs and the police force. I don't know if that's because of that phrase, defunding the police, where all the fundings are not going to weapons, et cetera, but some is going to wellness programs and health. I don't know. But there is at least some talk about kind of redirecting some of the funding. In the county that Anthony Hill was killed, there is, and I'm just going to call it a wellness unit. And we were kind of surprised to see that. Unfortunately, out of a county of about, I'm going to guess, 600, 700,000, the unit only operates from 9 to 5. Unfortunately, it only operates Monday through Fridays. Unfortunately, it's only one car. So serving that many people, the funding for that, or the distribution of wellness, is maybe not equal.
I would like to add a good relationship
Okay.
formulated because I did go to the trial. I am friends with the family, and it was a very long trial. It was about 3 weeks long. We ended up getting a lot of one-on-one time with the district attorney's office and the district attorney of DeKalb County herself, Ms. Sherry Boston. She's amazing. She's empathetic. She just listened to Bridget and myself, to Anthony's mother. She was open to our ideas. The whole prosecution team, I was surprised. They're amazing people. And we're still able to, we can still call them, ask them questions. And that's one huge relationship I never, ever imagined we would be able to have. And it's been very beneficial to our cause because it happened in DeKalb County, which is in Atlanta. So knowing that we have their support, I can call, ask questions. That really surprised me, and I'm glad that we do have their support. And I know they're so busy and they can't always just, come to things or meet with us. But when they said, if you ever need anything in the future, they meant it, because they want to see this problem eliminated as well. They don't want to prosecute these cases anymore either.
Any other questions?
Hi, this is Brittany. I'm going to step in and help because of a technical issue. But another question we have is, how do racial justice and disability justice interconnect?
You want to go first, Kendall, or you want me to go? Okay, I'll go. This is Ken again. So racial justice and disability justice are, in my mind, are the same. It's really human justice, right? It's justice for all humanity. In the seminar that I did earlier, I had this correlation of when I was a kid in middle Georgia, and I was at a city hall. My aunt was voting in 1960, and I saw a sign outside the door that said colored entrance, and there was an arrow pointing to the right. And then here in DeKalb County, when I went to vote, I just happened to see a sign at the beginning of the door that didn't say colored entrance, but it did say handicap entrance and an arrow pointing to the right. And I envisioned, I said, you know, our struggles are the same. It's a human struggle. It's for equality, for equity.
This is Brittany again. Kendall, would you like to add, or are we ready for the next question? Kendall, you're on mute.
Oh, I was saying I completely 100% agree with everything Ken said, and I would probably almost say pretty much the same thing myself. I think it's the same. It's a humanity issue. It's not two separate issues. It's one issue.
This is Brittany. Thank you so much. Our next question: should more people with disabilities be working in the criminal justice system as lawyers, judges, etc.?
That's a neat. This is Kim Mitchell. That's a layup, right? Thank you for the question. Of course, not only to be working in those areas, but in all areas, and that people with disabilities, just as people of all races, ethnicity, cultures, religions, should be at least as a minimum spread equally. So thank you for the layup. I appreciate it.
This is Brittany. Our next question: how are youth involved in the program?
Kendall, you want to talk about Beacon Hill? So I don't know if her mic is down or not, but this is Ken again. So we actually are been working in not my area so much, but there is a youth contingency in Metro Atlanta, a group of youth that are in the historic section of Atlanta called Beacon Hill, mostly high school students that are engaged in a number of human rights legislation and equity. And they have been interested in our particular program. We've had a number of people going to their organizations. A couple have come to ours to speak and to listen. We are also in engagement in the process of having hopefully some of the students be able to work with our webinars so that they can better relate, hopefully, with students of their own age, because as I've said many times, at my age, I don't look 16 anymore. But in my mind, because I can't see, I still feel 16. But hopefully that we'll have more youth. I don't know if Kendall's mic is okay. Brittany?
This is Brittany. Kendall, I think Kendall's, her video came on. I think she was going to speak, but we'll give her a second to see if she would like to ask.
Oh, okay, mine unmuted. So yeah, Ken spoke about Beacon Hill. They supported us a lot during the trial too. They came, they did a die-in. They all laid on the ground in front of the courthouse and had a silent die-in with signs for Anthony Hill and other members of our community that were taken away in the same way. And I know one thing we want to do with our workshop, it's very fluid. So we can tailor our workshop to our audience. And that's something else that I really love about what we're doing is we're very flexible, and because we're peer-led, we're able to ebb and flow and tailor what our message to the audience that we're presenting it to. But I would love to actually work with more youth groups and get them involved, because these younger kids, they are passionate and loud, and we are going to need those voices, their voices in the future.
This is Brittany. Thank you. We have another anonymous question. If you defund the police, who will you call if someone breaks into your home and holds you hostage, or robs you, or takes your child?
This is Ken. So I think, and I actually thank you for the question again. So when you're saying the misunderstanding about defunding the police means that some people think that there is no police. That's it. When you defund the police, they're gone. It's over, and that's not true. If we use our funding responsibly, it means that the community is supporting the community. It means that people, an officer like Officer Olson would not have to come to a community, or would not come to a community to do quote unquote what we know as police work now. It means that there may be a wellness unit. I think I heard someone talking about in the chat box about, why don't we just call a wellness unit to come out and support that person with a disability? That would be fantastic. But as I said earlier, for a county of over 600,000 plus, there was one unit. The one unit only worked Monday through Fridays. The one unit only worked from 9 to 5. And it can't be all over a county for that short of time. And the sad part is that this building serves 12 counties. That's the only county that had one. So it's not, when we say defunding the police, it doesn't mean that we're disbanding it. It's gone, it's finished. It may be in another form. It may be, its motto may be live up to its creed, but it doesn't mean that we're just, that all the funding for the police force is gone and there's no one to do what we quote unquote call policing
now. And to answer that question, if I was in a situation presented in the question, I would call the police. I agree with Ken. Defunding the police doesn't mean we're just taking disbanding departments and everyone's just going to run around, wild with no law and order, no control. We want to see a better distribution of funds towards programs that can actually help the community. Like I mentioned before, that one crisis unit was not available the day that Anthony needed help. And it was in his county during business hours in the middle of the afternoon. And it wasn't available. So what we want to do is just see a reallocation of funds so those programs can have enough people on them and they don't all have to necessarily be volunteer based, because we live in a capitalist society. People need to work and feed their families, and everything can't be on a voluntary basis. Things, programs, resources cost money. And I personally think if you have enough money to buy tear gas and rubber bullets and armored trucks, there's money in that budget that can be allocated for better use.
This is Brittany. Thank you both for that. Our next question is from Jamie. Are there any resources or presentations for police interactions on how to interact with disabled people?
This is Ken. I didn't quite hear that.
This is Brittany. The question was, are there any resources or presentations for police interactions on how to interact with disabled people?
Hello?
We actually, in our workshop, we have that's a whole section of our workshop, some tips and ways to not, to kind of keep tensions a little less high if police do show up. I personally don't know of any other programs or resources. I'm trying to think, but we did include that in our workshop. Just some general best practices and things people can ask. And if it's okay, I'll give an example. One suggestion we have is, if you're the one that's calling 911, to ask for the police if something that can help. If someone's having a mental health crisis, the noise and lights of sirens can make them feel like something bad's going to happen, or it can make them feel possibly a little more defensive. So perhaps being very clear with 911, yes, we do need the help. Can the police please come, maybe without the bright lights and without sirens, because it will exacerbate the situation. I know that's one of our biggest asks, and something you can do if you're in the situation and you do need to call 911 for help.
This is Ken. I'm going to go back to a question that was asked earlier about the resources. So when during the trial, I just wanted to look up how many people were killed that were counted with a disability in our area, in our surrounding area. And lucky for me, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution had done an article on the very thing not too long before that. I was surprised to find out how many people had actually been killed, not just hurt, but actually been shot by police. And then a quick jot on their backgrounds, how many people of those were actually designated with a disability of some sort. Not only just mental disability, but I think in the beginning of our conversation with us protecting us, I was suggesting that me, a person who happens to be blind, if I didn't have my cane, people would not know. It's that disability. And if I was told to go over there, sit over by that tree, or any of that stuff, I wouldn't know what it was, or where it was, or what was going on, or any of that good stuff. And that could be perceived as something different than just I didn't know. Or, you know, I know most people have said that even now, even with a cane, go over there innocently. But go over there without knowing that, you know, it goes to right, left, that there's something 6 feet away or whatever. So one of the things we have to understand is that it's not just mental disabilities, but it could be someone who's deaf, and people are shouting at them, "No, don't come here, don't come," whatever. So the police officers not only need to be trained, or first responders not only need to be trained, but they need to be trained by the communities that they serve. And one of the things that we did also find out is that people with disabilities are not part of the training, are not part of the investment, are not part of the solution. And us as independent living in Sills and Silks, that's what we live for. And in our communities, even though we may have a wellness center, or we may have a community council or health council, or whatever it is that we have, how many of those people that are part of that group are not just the mayor or the city council person or whatever they are, but are actually a part of our community and part of the people that are being affected by that panel or task force or whatever.
Hey, Ken, this is Arius again. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, so I want to go to a comment and then a question. First, I'm going to go with the comment from Susan Bentley because it's tied into what you were saying. And then we'll go to the question from Beth DeWald. So first is Susan Bentley. It says,
Arius, just also let me know when we get close to the end, because we have a couple asks.
Okay, we got about 8 minutes. So
okay.
Susan Bentley says, I'm surprised that mental health, first aid, and crisis intervention trainings are not a part of the discussion. Both are excellent trainings for police/first responder. Officers are trained to prevent or minimize escalation. On the phone, a CIT officer can be requested if the caller suspects a mental health issue. Okay, and then I'll just go ahead to the question from Beth DeWald because it all ties in. So Beth says, I live and work in a rural county population about 240,000. We are dependent on collaborating with each in various agencies from law enforcement to mental health crisis unit. You mentioned training for law enforcement. Do you have any suggested materials to accomplish this?
For the two statements and the question. So the statement is that you're right. Anybody can request, even here in DeKalb County, we can request a personal wellness person, and you can request it anyway. But if there's no one to respond to that, it's not helpful. Second of all, it's not everybody knows about that some places might have a wellness vehicle or whatever. Third thing is that we must understand that the person who responded to Anthony Hill had taken the 40-hour course and passed. And within 2 minutes, Anthony Hill was dead. That has an impact. That has a consequence. That says that even though that there's a course, a group, a standard, a program that today, throughout the United States, there's something else needed. That's one thing. Second thing, the course. I just heard that message. You're right. But so the second part about is there training for police? There's training for police, and one of the things that I would propose, and I think most Center for Independent would propose, is that training or that effectiveness has to also come from the community that it serves. It has to have people with disabilities have to be part of the solution. And what I always say is that the people most affected has to be part of the investment, and they have to be part of the solution.
Thank you, Ken. We got about 4 minutes. Kendall, did you have something to add?
I was gonna add on to what Ken was saying. I think that the police training should include peers, people from the community. I mean, think about it when you're at work and you have to do a training you have to do every year, and it's a PowerPoint. It's not interesting. You zone out, you don't pay attention. That's just human nature sometimes. I think if the information was coming from actual real people, victims of people who are lost because of it, I think maybe they would pay a little more attention. Because at least I know the training, when we found out their training, it's all PowerPoints and slideshows. There's no interaction. So I think to have, and with COVID now, it's difficult, but maybe in the future to have members of the community lead that section of the training program.
Thank you, Kendall. Ken, you said this is Arius again. You said you had an ask. We have about 3 minutes left. Before I let you go, remember you guys to fill out the survey at the end of this, so that in the evaluation, so they can get their scores, and it just helps us all out. Thank you. Go ahead, Ken.
Yes. So my ask is that, so I know some people have had some questions about the police training. Some people have asked some questions about wellness patrols. Some people have asked questions about implicit bias. In your areas where your skills are, my ask is simply this. Find out about what the resources are in your community. Find out if the training is being done by or with people that are being affected. Find out in the training, what are they actually being trained for? And then if you don't like it, change it.
Do we want to go through one more question? We got 1 minute left.
Okay, we can. Unless Kendall has something he wants to say.
Okay. Kendall, you have something?
Go ask the question. I'll let her answer it.
Okay. This one comes from an anonymous attendee. It says, do you think there's a different slogan that can be used instead of defund the police? When folks say this, I find it's met with a lot of defensiveness and resistance. When you read about it, you learn that it's more about allocating funds to different sources so that police aren't the only call if someone has a mental health crisis, asleep in their car, currently using, etc. Would you choose to rename the slogan?
Sure, we could call it redistribute funds. I think I agree the term defund somehow turned into disband, abolish, and delete. And that's not what we're saying when we say defund the police. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that phrase needs to be rebranded, but the message got twisted and changed to, like I said, delete. And that's not what we're saying. We're saying to reallocate and redistribute funds. And I don't know how to change that, because everything is so politicized right now because we're in a tense election season. But when people talk to me about it and they have that mindset, I always tell them, no, that's not what we mean. We mean reallocate, move funds around, we don't mean take everything away.
Thank you. We are a minute past 1 o'clock. So did you have anything to add, Ken or Kendall? Because we got to get out of here.
No, but this is Ken. Add your comments, and if you have another question that we didn't answer, we will definitely try to get with you and also give you some information about us protecting us.
All right. Thank you guys so much for the presentation. Kendall, did you have something you wanted to add? I'm sorry, I cut you off.
Oh, I wanted to ask if everyone that's participating, if they have our contact information. We're on Facebook. You can just search Us Protecting Us. You can send a message. I know we don't mind answering questions if something comes up later, or if you're really shy. I'm really shy. If you're really shy and you just want to ask us privately through our Facebook page or Instagram, which is also Us Protecting Us, you're more than welcome to do that. Or also you can send us an email, usprotectingusatl@gmail.com, and we will answer any questions that you have, or if you want to have a conversation. I'm 100% open to that, and I hope to see you guys in the future.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming out with this presentation. If you got another session to go to, go ahead and head out. Thank you, Ken and Kendall, again. I appreciate you sharing your stories and your time. All right, everybody. Bye.
Bye.